Welcome, everyone, to Music Junkies, a podcast about people sharing extraordinary stories about how music has impacted their lives.
Good evening. Welcome to Music Junkies. I'm your host, Annette Smith. I actually have my co-host today. Again, you can't see him on camera because he's super shy, right? One day T-Bone will get on camera. But our guests tonight are Lynn and Larry, amazing friends of ours, and I'm so excited to have you guys tonight on Music Junkies.
We're excited to be here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So before we get started, I always like to ask my guests what their experience was putting their playlist together, and how would you describe your playlist to somebody if somebody asked? So what was your experience like together putting that playlist together?
Well,
Did
Lynn,
you fight a lot?
I'd say Lynn kind of put it together, and then I added songs that she didn't remember that I added. Some that I played in a rock band when I was in university, so some of the songs are from there because I had some good memories from that. They don't necessarily relate to the two of us, but
That's okay.
relate to me.
And there were a couple of Sonny and Cher ones that he said, we have to put that. And I was like, no.
I wanted to put I Got You, Babe on the list, and she said, no, we can't
It's
put
on
that
there.
song.
We put it on.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're doing a duet.
But it is interesting. Like there was like some of them, it isn't a personal to our experience, but just musically, the songs are so powerful that they have to be on there. You know, it's just from the musical point of view. You know, it's not necessarily that the words or the lyrics were any wonderful, powerful experience in our lives, but just musically, the song is so powerful that it has to be there.
I agree. So if you were to describe your playlist to somebody, what would you say? What would you say it was about? Or how would you describe it? My playlist is, about me growing up, or
I would say it's music
life.
that we enjoy together, and our girls have enjoyed most of those songs with us at one time or another.
But some of them also, though, are on there because our girls opened our world to those songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like
That's true.
Jason Mraz ones. It's
But we used to do a paper route.
Yeah.
And Sarah and I continued with the paper route after, and we would play Beatles
All the
serious almost all the time.
Yeah.
And so she and I have Beatles songs that come up, and we just go, Dad, do you remember? Dad, do you remember?
I love that.
yeah.
And there was one time I thought I had parked a Jeep, and it was in neutral. And I'm delivering the paper, and I see the Jeep gradually backing down the street. And I'm thinking, and Sarah's just in the back waving to me like, hi, Dad. So I ran as fast as I could just before it hit a Mercedes-Benz.
Let's go down paper routes.
And so I just left the guy a note, and I said, I'm sorry, my car has hit your car. And I gave him all my information, and he phoned the next day, and he was very gracious. He said, thanks for leaving the note. And I said, will you get your car fixed? Send me the bill. And it was like $1,200 because it was a Mercedes-Benz, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's a memory that I'll have forever. And I don't know what song was playing then.
So much for any friggin' paperwork.
But it was.
You had two cars on that paper.
No, Christine hit the other one.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Okay, we're gonna start with your first song.
Okay.
So you can pick up the headphones. Absolutely love that you guys love this song. Stevie Wonder, right? I just called to say I love you. I haven't heard this song for a long time.
Okay, so there's a story here.
Okay, I like stories.
The story is, Lynn and I met at a U of C conducting course in the summer.
Okay, not a fight, not like a boxing match.
No, we both play saxophone. So she
So
was
music
sitting,
conductor.
so we ended up sitting beside each other, and we'd get up and conduct once a night or every other night, doesn't matter. And so one thing led to another, and by the end of that course, we basically decided that we would be together.
Okay, so I'm going to interrupt you just really quickly. So how long before you met and you banged? Because it sounds like it's quickly. right?
come
Because
on.
you're like, we
Come
are
on,
like
Annette.
meeting, and then we're moving in together.
There was a
3
couple
weeks.
weeks.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think you need to get the bang out right away.
Yeah.
Like, why? You've been married 3 times. Like, why
Yeah.
are you holding
But
back?
this song, though,
3
was
weeks.
he moved back.
So
to
then
Edmonton.
I lived in Edmonton and Lynn was in Calgary. And so she had trouble getting up in the morning to get to her band rehearsal.
Oh, big surprise.
Big surprise there. So I'd phone her at like, I don't know,
6. I don't
6, 10 after 6, and I would sing this
know.
song.
Sing that
I'd
song.
sing,
He
Aw.
phoned.
I just called to say I love you, and she'd wake up.
Aw.
every
Yeah,
day,
like
every day
about
for
for
3
about
months.
3 or 4 months at least. I was going to say 6, but
And I don't know
it was a long
why.
time,
It
and
just
every day he would just phone
just-
me and tell me.
just was
like,
a simultaneous. I just did it one day.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
That's
That's why I
really
said
cool.
you're starting with that song. Like,
You know, I have a very similar story, and our co-host is my husband. Do you want to tell them what you used to call and leave on my answering machine when we first started dating?
I would love to know.
Do you remember? It was something about like, do you remember? Hey, I was just blow drying my hair. Thought you called. No, sorry. Do you remember doing that?
I don't remember doing that.
it was so meaningful to you.
He would do that. Hey, thought you called. I was just blow drying my hair. I'm like,
That's off a movie.
I know it's off a
The
movie.
Cable Guy with
And you
Jim
used to
Carrey.
Oh,
do
yeah.
that to me. So how long have you guys been married for?
34 years.
34 years. And Lynn, what do you love about Larry the most?
The list is long.
Okay, just give me 2 things.
He supports me to do the things I'm good at
I love that.
and tolerates all the rest and picks up everything else. I mean, he's there to do what I'm not good at, and he supports me to do what I'm good at.
Love that. And Larry, what do you love about Lynn the most?
She lets
Short
me.
list?
She lets me be who I am, and doesn't try to change who I am, and supports whatever I want to do. Basically,
Do you guys have nicknames for each other?
no,
No, never had like
never
little
have
snuggles
had. No.
No.
So what is something that Larry does that like absolutely, like you walk in the room, you're like, I can't believe he fucking did that again. Already got the first
Oh,
For those who do know, this is a pass card. Means
I thought it was supposed to go unnoticed.
so there is something. Oh,
You might start a
I
fight
don't
here.
know.
What about you, Larry, since Lynn will share? They got one more card left. Wow. When you got the 3rd card, it's strip poker, just for you know.
Oh, you guys are not in luck.
Right, I'll have you lift up your headphones again and we'll go to the next song. And I love her, right? Dolly Parton. I put the Dolly Parton version on here for I Will Always Love You instead of Whitney Houston. I actually don't think I've ever heard of the Dolly Parton version. It's very, very pretty.
It's just the Whitney Houston one we all in.
Yeah. So why do you love that song? What memory does that bring up for you?
There's no memory. It is just so powerful musically. And I thought about putting it on. I thought, well, this is a breakup song. Like, why would I put a breakup song on our list? But it is just so beautiful and so powerful. And I can't even think of the Dolly Parton version as much, but when Whitney Houston does that, and
Yeah.
there's the beat of silence and the key change, it is just so powerful. It's one of those reasons that we love music, because it just makes you feel like it just gives you goosebumps every time. Like, it's not, oh yeah, that was really nice. Like, it is just that powerful every time you hear it.
I agree. I just did a podcast the last couple days and they had this song on there as well.
oh yeah.
And this song brings up for me is being in my bedroom. I don't know when that song came out, but I was in my early teens And I think as a lot of teenage girls listening to Whitney Houston back there, when this song came out, it was just trying to do that part. And you just like kept your voice up, and it probably sounded awful. My parents probably were like, oh my God, please stop doing that. It's like pause, rewind, and you know.
Yeah.
That's a very powerful moment in
Yeah,
that
is
song,
so
though.
powerful.
So powerful.
And it was so enjoyable to listen to the what's his name, David Foster, that produced it, and when he talked about how he produced it, and just how he put that music together, and how it continues to touch people and move people.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because although you're teaching music, every now and then there would be these times that just are the reminder as to why we love music, because it speaks to that place in us that we have no words.
I agree. So you guys have a couple kids together?
Three
Okay,
daughters.
so before, like, honestly, they'll probably never hear this, but I want you to think of all 3 kids, get them all in your mind.
Mhm.
Which one would you sell first? That's just say the third
Sarah.
the third letter. It's out there. She's gone.
Oh,
I think it's great.
God,
Right? You
you
gotta
work.
pick one.
God, you
Right.
work it.
I think every single day it's like a different child, though, if you think of it, right? You're like, oh God, I might want to sell this one today. And then you're like, no, I'll keep it. No, it's fine.
Who would you sell? None?
I just know I never saw Catherine.
I know that ours went through phases where for 6 months we were selling that one.
Yeah.
Angel. And then it switched and then you're gone and we're keeping this one
That's right.
constantly. Just, it still happens.
Still happens.
It still happens.
And then you guys were music teachers.
Mhm.
So did you guys work in the same school together?
No, never.
Oh. So you never like met in a locker or a little
Well,
cubby hole
we met
there?
just,
No, I'm talking
we
like
met
in
playing
between
saxophone
classes.
beside each other.
No.
That's how we met.
you never did.
And a
any-
friend of ours, a friend of mine from Edmonton, was in the
You
course.
missed that whole question.
I ignored it. I'm ignoring it. A friend of ours, mine, was in the trumpet section at the conducting course as well. And when we finally exposed the fact that we were together, he said, I knew that something was going to happen there probably before even the two, just because of the way we were interacting with
Well,
each
'cause
other
in
and
a-
enjoying each
his
other, playing saxophone.
Saxophones
And
sit here and the trumpets are behind him.
he was
just-
behind us the
he
whole
just
time
watched
for
us
3
for the whole
weeks.
3 weeks. So
And
You
so
knew.
we actually
we got married
ended
in
up,
his backyard.
we ended up
By the
having
way.
our wedding in his backyard in Edmonton. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. He's a great
Long
friend.
time
That's 34 years ago. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So pick up the headphones again. We'll get to the next song. I'm excited. This is a great song. Some Diana Ross, right? Ain't No Mountain High Enough. I could see you, Lynn, singing this song, right? Like, ain't no mountain. I totally can see you do that. So what do you love about that song?
That would be a song that, like on a big awards thing or something, like that would be my walk-on song.
Yeah, I love that.
You're welcome to.
Oh, you are.
Ain't no, but that's a good
No,
song.
but it would be.
Ain't no
It's,
mountain high enough. Yeah.
It's just one of those, again, the powerful and inspiring songs, just to remember that, you know, we can do anything we put our mind to.
We've scaled a few mountains.
When?
Well, we've had 3 kids.
Oh, figuratively.
Oh man, that went, you understood. Tyler understood, didn't you? Yeah, he did.
I was thinking,
You're
we
thinking,
never ever went hiking. What the hell?
oh man,
That's one of
Yes,
my-
there have
What a
been
one.
some challenges in our life.
I
that we have
missed that
done
mark
to-
totally. Did I not?
There have been some challenges in our life that we have
Oh,
scaled before. You're right. There have been lots, but
I think it's good that, you know, and honestly, being in a marriage for that long, I so admire that. I truly do know what you guys do that. I really admire that. And I think it takes a lot of commitment, determination, will, passion, commitment, and you guys have
Well,
that.
I'd say we've supported each other through the ups and downs, you know.
So Larry, would you say that Lynn is a good singer?
Yes.
Oh. How about you, Lynn? Would you say Larry is a good singer?
Yeah.
Have you guys ever did a duet song together?
We did some karaoke one time, and all I could think of is, holy shoot, before you sing in public, you should practice.
What was your guys' karaoke song?
Oh, it was one of those.
Well, we tried the Sonny and Cher one that was on that
When
list,
we get to it, you guys are totally
and,
good.
and we bombed on that.
But that,
totally.
I mean, it doesn't matter how musical or you teach music or whatever. You can hear something here,
Yeah.
but if you expect it to come out here, you have to practice a little bit first. I remember being so embarrassed. We were someplace and you and I were trying to sing that Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers Islands in the Stream.
Islands in the Stream, yeah.
And the harmonies are like this, but with us it was kind of like this.
Well, we couldn't really hear the karaoke.
All I
either,
thought
so.
is, we know better than to do that in public without practicing. Like, what the hell's wrong with us?
So what is kind of one of your favorite concerts that you guys have enjoyed together?
I would say the James
I was
Taylor.
going to say James Taylor. The Stevie
Concert.
Wonder was pretty great, but the James Taylor was.
What made it great?
awesome.
Well, I think because we're both music teachers, we could enjoy his musical expertise and the way the whole concert was presented. And he would just strum his guitar and tell a story. I wrote this song in Toronto when there was a blizzard going on, and then he'd break into the song, play the song, and then he'd go, "Thanks very much," you know, people would applaud, and then he'd go, "Well, you know, when I was in," so he would tell a story and sing a song to the story, and we enjoyed that. It was like a 2-hour concert, and we were sad it was over. Like some concerts you go to, you're going, "Holy shit, I wish this was over," you know.
But I just remember the one story, and he talked about, because I've known that song Carolina in the Morning forever, and you know, you kind of think, well, you know, maybe was it a love song when he was in Carolina with somebody and whatever. And it was, he said, I've never been so lonely in my life. I was in England and I was on tour and I wasn't making any money, and I just wished I was back in Carolina. And that's when he wrote that song, and it just there's just so much behind it.
It makes his music come alive
But
when
the
you
other thing
understand
about-
why he wrote it.
The other thing about that concert, I mean, James Taylor, I mean, how old is he? And, you know, there was time to take a break, and he said, I'm not sure why we have to take a break, but the union says we have to, and these guys, you know, I have to take a break. But he never left the stage. He went over to the stage and talked to people for the whole time. And then the break was over and the band came back in, and, oh, I guess I have to go. I'll go back to work now. But he never left the stage. Like, he's that much of, he's there to please the people.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to Chicago, because the band I played in university was a Chicago Blood, Sweat and Tears kind of band, and it was with Earth, Wind and Fire.
Oh,
And so they started the concert together, and they did a Chicago song, and it was dreadful because the drummer, whoever was doing the sound, they turned the bass up on the Earth, Wind and Fire guy and the drummer. They had 2 drummers. They turned the drummer up on the Earth, Wind and Fire, and that's all you could hear. You couldn't hear the horns. You couldn't hear anybody else. And that song ended, and then Chicago did their stuff.
Throughout that whole concert is, God, these 2 sound men each wanted the job, and they were going to make sure that the other one. And it was just a competition, like between the sound men, like who could make the drummer or the bass louder.
Well, the Chicago followed up next, and the sound changed totally. You could hear them all. You could hear the horns, and it was enjoyable. Then Earth, Wind and Fire came on, and holy shit, it was like, oh my God, get me out of here.
So you guys have been music teachers for a long time.
Yeah.
Let's hear about your worst student. You don't have to say their name, but have you had a really bad student teaching that you're like, I'm going to beat you with this clarinet?
Do you know what? I am very, very blessed in my life that I don't remember the bad stuff. I don't remember childbirth. I can't remember bad students. I'm sure there was lots of them.
How about you, Larry?
I never had I wouldn't say I had a bad student, but I did have another student play a test for his best friend because I did recordings so that rather than sitting in person, the kids could, if they want to play it 15 times to get it right, good. It means they're practicing that much.
Yeah.
So I took I'm listening to the tapes and I put the one tape on, and I knew who it was. It was David. And then I put the next tape in, which was not supposed to be David, but it was exactly the same. Like he didn't change anything.
You can tell the sound.
And I'm thinking,
Joe.
So I didn't want to accuse them. So I took the tapes to school a couple of days later, and I said, just to let you know, here's kind of what I've listened to. So I put a couple of tapes in, and then I put David's tape in, and the kids knew exactly. They said, well, that's Dave. I put the next tape in, and they said, Mr. Blinken, that's Dave. And these two guys, both of them were there, and they just kind of put their heads down. So before the class was over, I said, can I just talk to you for a minute in the office? So I just said, the gig's up. Like, you played his tape for him, didn't you? Yeah. I said, okay. So I need a letter from your parents saying that you admit to the fraud. And so they both did, and I got both the letters. So I had a meeting with the kid who wouldn't play and his parents, and I said, like, what's going on? He said, well, I'm afraid to play for you. And I said, what are you talking about? You're afraid to play for me? Well, I just didn't. So I said, so we got it resolved, and he came and played, and he did fine, right? But I'm thinking, afraid to play for me? And I said to them, do you think I'm totally stupid that I wouldn't recognize that it's the same person? I mean, Dave, you didn't even change the inflection. You didn't even make any mistakes. And Paul was a good player, but he would have made mistakes, right?
Yeah.
And so to hand me this perfect tape that's no different from the first one is really not very smart.
A little aside
Kids
to
are
that.
barely
A little aside to that, though. The first guy, David, is a professional musician in the States now.
Now, yeah.
Conductor, professor.
He's got a doctorate in saxophone, and he teaches jazz.
It's all because of you, Larry.
No, not because of me. He studied with a really
didn't-
good saxophone teacher in
But he didn't
Calgary.
turn him off.
No, true. But
All right,
it's
we're gonna
because of
listen to the
Pat
next
Belvo
song.
that he's where he is.
It's another little Stevie song. Stevie Wonder, You're My Sunshine.
Oh, yeah. I didn't sing this one.
How many times do people sing this song to their kids, right?
Yeah.
Why do you guys love that song?
It's a kid.
I don't know exactly, to tell you the
No,
truth.
but I mean,
it's a
it
great
is.
it's a great song.
But it is. I mean,
It
it's
is.
you think
It's
about
Stevie
that.
Wonder.
You think about that with your kids. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a kid song. It's they just bring that world to you.
What
That's
is-
that's another concert we went to see. Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, amazing.
It's amazing. Amazing, except at the end, he decides to play this song that the band had never really seen before. It's his encore. And he goes, so he starts playing the piano, and you can see
And
the
you can
band
see
going,
the band
what,
like
what
looking at
the
each other."
hell key are we in? What song is this? You can see the guys trying to find the key, right?
But you know what? They found it, and it was quite remarkable.
Well, it wasn't a very good song, though. I mean, there's a million songs he could have done.
How could you remember that?
I
about
do.
the Stevie
I do,
Wonder?
though.
What I
There's-
remembered about that concert was just he would be in a song and he'd be like "Sunshine of My Life" or whatever, and he'd be just like almost through it, and then just da da da, and he's in another song, and you can just hear the band. Okay, we're here now. Like there was no announcing like just to which song he was going.
No,
to,
he
and
was
it
he just went into another song.
Just such evidence of the music.
But he even said that song, nobody knew that song. Like, why wouldn't you, if you're going to do an encore, why wouldn't you pick a song that everybody knows, right?
You should have left the first song you guys played.
There you
You know
go.
what?
As an encore.
But it is interesting though how many songs and how we hear the music from an almost an analytical point of view of the music, and just that you would remember that about that concert. Why wouldn't they have rehearsed?
Well, that for one, yeah, but why wouldn't you pick a song that
People knew.
that you hadn't played yet? I mean, there's a lot of songs they could have
Well,
What
done.
did you guys love most about being music teachers?
that you could open a world to kids that they had never done before. The majority of my career was I was teaching beginner band, and kids would come into my classroom and they had done math before, and they had done science before, and they had done phys ed before, but they didn't even know the difference between a clarinet and a trumpet. And a couple months later, they could be playing songs together on these instruments. And it was just like, just opening that whole world of music to them.
Yeah.
Like I remember I had a student that was a world champion when he was in grade 8. He was a world champion, junior champion squash player. And like he would come back on a Monday and I would just kind of laugh, hey, David, were you squashing on the weekend? And, yeah, I was in Brussels, you know? So, but he didn't get his option form in. And so somehow he ended up in band. But his focus was so intense in the classroom because that's how he approached life, like everything he was going to do. He knew he was never going to practice outside of band, but I mean, he paid so much attention and you know, he just had that intense focus that he was likely one of the better players of all of the kids. But it was just like, and he would never have, like his parents didn't, I don't think his parents even came to the concerts because they were, what's band, you know, but it was just that world. And just to see how he could bring that focus and that excellence in his field, and even to something that he didn't choose, but okay, I'm here, I'm going to put that excellence here, you know, it just to bring that world to people.
Yeah, I love that. Larry,
well, and open up their world to things that they never even thought they could do. And I'm not saying this to brag, but I've got over 50 students in my 33 years of teaching who are either a professional musician, or they're running a recording studio, or they're playing piano in New York, or they're doing all kinds of things. And I'm hoping that I sort of inspired that into infant. You know, some of them are teachers too.
Didn't get in their way.
Some of them are teachers and doing the same thing that I did for 33 years. But I remember this one girl who was in choir, because I did band and choir, and she had trouble pitching. But she'd stay after class every day, and we'd work. I'd say, sing this note, sing this note, with me for 3 years. And her final exam, the kids actually applauded for her because she was singing in tune, and she did a remarkable job on all the songs. And I remember to this day, the kids clapped for her because they knew that she progressed, right? And I had one little girl, she said, Mr. B, why don't we put, I forget what her name was, in the middle of all of us so that she can hear. And I thought, well, that's a great idea. So I did it. And after 3 years, for her to be able to, you know, match pitch on a piano and sing her parts back to me, and to have those kids applaud, I thought, that's awesome. Why you do
that
this job.
Your life.
Yeah.
Totally.
But it
Totally.
always makes me laugh, but angry, when people say, oh, I'm tone deaf. You know, like in 30 years of teaching, I had one student that was tone deaf. She was playing the trumpet, poor little soul, and she couldn't play the right notes. And so I took her aside and I would say, you know, which one is higher? Do, do. Do, do.
I had no clue.
Oh shoot, she better not play a trumpet. So she still had the rest of the year, so I put her on a clarinet, because on a clarinet you can park your fingers and get closer to the note. But I just believe if they were to, like, arbitrarily somewhere along the line they chose to teach everybody math and science, I believe if they had decided to teach everybody music, we would still have as many mathematicians and scientists.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, but just this idea, like, what if they had just chosen that only the kids that had the aptitude to math and science, we're going to teach those kids math and science.
Yeah.
You know, which is what we do with music. You know, if kids have an aptitude, oh, we'll get them music lessons. But I believe, I've taken lots, studied lots, and seen when my kids were little and we were at, you know, music classes when they were just really little, how if children are taught systematically, almost everybody will be able to kind of carry a tune, you know. And if you teach kids math for 12 years, you know, most people can kind of balance their checkbook.
Yeah.
But I just think their lives would be so much richer if they were taught music right all the way along.
Yeah,
Not just choose the ones that have musical aptitude to teach them.
I like that. I appreciate you saying that, Lynn, because I absolutely agree. So our next song on the playlist, Larry, you ready? I feel like this might actually be your song. I'm not quite sure if you can dance, but I hope you can dance. Leanne.
He didn't know this.
Oh no, this is a sneak putting in. He doesn't even know this song. Larry, oh my God, Larry. You don't know this song?
What song is it?
It's that country
You can
song.
dance. I
That
hope you can
country
dance.
song that the girl is just singing, that if this goes wrong and this goes wrong and this goes wrong, I still hope that you choose to dance. It's such a huge metaphor. And I put that in and you said, I don't even know what that song is, but I still put it in.
I still don't know what it is.
But it's just a huge metaphor for life that I just.
Well, you
hope
see
that
me dance, so it's true.
Yeah, that's what I was
I
saying.
hope you can dance, because I can't.
No, it is just a really powerful metaphor.
So that's Lynn's song.
That's Lynn's songs, not.
I should have put in Sonny and Cher.
That's
I'm
okay. We'll
sorry.
get to
Yeah.
Sonny and Cher. We're gonna play a game now.
Mm.
Okay, you ready? So here you have to write on the chalkboard. If not, just put your hand up. If you don't want to write on the chalkboard, whoever gets these answers first gets a shooter. Okay.
It's about time this
So
water's
Larry,
getting.
you write down what she, and then you write down what he. Okay, make sense? So you can say it too if you don't want to write it down. What did you wear on your first date? What did Lynn wear on her first date? Do you remember what Larry? Look at this is right away. We're in for disaster right away. Larry, do you remember what Lynn wore on her
No,
first date?
I don't.
Do you
But I
what you
remember-
wore on your
I
first date?
remember we went to
Don't.
Tell him.
to the sleaziest old Boston Beach
Oh,
on
God.
16th Avenue.
Well, first of all, it took me forever to find her place because I was new to
Not even starting
Calgary.
out well.
I was new to Calgary, and it took me like 45 minutes to even get to her house, right? So we picked her up, and we were going to a Boston Pizza close to where she lived, and it was
about
the
12
most
feet
dive
wide.
Boston
It was
pizza you
about
could
12
ever
feet
imagine.
wide, and we went to the very back,
Oh,
and
God.
it was
In
the
the corner.
sleaziest place, I think.
It
I
was
don't know
bad.
what we were wearing though.
Okay, what's Larry's weirdest quirk?
You can't pass the card.
Yeah, as you're going topless.
That's
That's
a
weird.
weirdest quirk.
No, don't know. Who said I love you first?
I think I did.
I was thinking it though.
Did you say it right away?
Well, of course.
Yeah. Who's the most tidiest? Oh, you did. Who's the best cook? Larry. Oh, we have
Well,
one wait there.
not for the last
No, and it's
8
just
months.
it's when I talk about Larry supporting what I'm really good at. I can cook a really, really good meal. And I remember one time everybody was teasing me because I never cooked. And one of my daughters said, it was Christine, I remember it. She said, you guys, come on, give her a break. She cooked once last year. Like I cook, and I can cook a really, really good, cook a really, really good meal. And put it on the table and present
It just
all
doesn't
really
happen very
well.
often,
But it's
except
like
except for
Christmas,
the
Easter.
last 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, the
Lynn's
last
done all the
while.
cooking.
But I mean, I cook, Christmas, Easter.
So you're a good cook, but Larry does all the cooking.
Except for the last 3 or 4 months, yeah.
I'm a really good cook on once in a while, but you know what's so cool? My Christine's fellow, her fiance, he would only come over about once every month or so for a family dinner, and it would happen to be when I was cooking.
Oh.
And it was so much
True.
fun because he thought I was a wonderful cook right from the beginning, and everybody laughed. But I loved it, and Jesse just says, "Well, you are a really good cook." So
I'm not quite sure how it ended up that way, but I ended up doing most of the cooking. I think because Lynn Lynn running the
Out.
business. She was always
Always
out,
out.
out, and it was me and the girls at home. So it made sense that I would cook rather than wait for Lynn to get home.
Yeah.
So I became kind of and then when
The
I
head cook?
when I
The head
retired
chef?
from teaching, it was just a natural fit for me because I was kind of like a home dad, I guess, or whatever you call that. So I was home, and so it made sense for me to cook. So I did all the cooking except for Christmas and the big meals.
All right, we're
It's
going
just
down a real rabbit hole with this cooking.
Just
Shut it off.
that
Shut off the
mundane day to day. How
Oh
do
my
you
God.
choose what
This
every
is
day
a
after day?
never-ending
Next,
subject.
next.
Okay, so Larry, if Lynn went to jail, what would she go to jail for?
Bad driving.
Oh, faster.
Okay,
maybe, yeah.
so if Larry went to jail, what would he go to jail for?
It would be the police officer's mistake.
Wow. She said
Whoa!
that. Holy cow.
How loyal is
I
that?
feel like Lynn
Wow.
wants some nookie tonight because she is really stroking her ego for this thing. Okay, so Larry, what's Lynn's bra size?
I have no idea.
Lynn, what's Larry's shoe size? Are you guys
11.
really married? Like, I'm just
11.
curious.
Well, we don't buy stuff for each other like that.
What's the first movie you saw together?
I don't
I can't remember.
remember. We don't tend to go to movies much. We watch a lot of TV,
Yeah.
and we have lots
What
of
did we
similar
watch?
tastes in.
I can't remember what we would have watched. When we were first together, he was in Edmonton and I was in Calgary. When we got together, we weren't watching much movies.
Knocking boots.
Lots of TV though.
That was a background noise.
Yeah, right.
All right, let's.
Yeah, true.
do a
That's
song.
true, Lynn. I never.
Oh. Okay, hopefully Larry knows this one.
I hope so too.
Oh, The Wait by the band. What makes you love that song so much?
That's a Lynn's choice.
That's just university. When I was in university.
She was wild
Yeah?
before she met me.
Like Girls Gone Wild?
I just don't visit that time very much, but that was a really good song from university. That just takes me back to university. And
Well, let's go back to that time just for a couple minutes.
it was
Let's talk about a really crazy university story. Like the one you're thinking about like right now.
I just always feel so bad because I met my friend Molly when we were living in residence. And the next year we got an apartment. And I felt so bad because my dad is such a good man. And there was this guy he didn't have an apartment. He didn't have a place to live or whatever. So he had all of his stuff in the living room. And neither one of us were with this guy. It was just, he needed a place to stay. And I just felt so bad because my dad said, well, if he's there and he's a man, I know what he's doing. And if they're not doing that, it just proves he's not a man. And then he would pick up a big pen that I tried to smoke dope, but I can't because my respiratory system wouldn't let me. But it was yellow with hash oil, this big pen. We put the big thing in and he'd write a check for me. I just always feel so bad.
I'm lost. Who wrote the check?
Dad, he wrote a
Was the
check.
big pen that had hash oil in it?
That was very disrespectful.
That's before me.
That was awful.
Like, shit, that's my dope smoking pen, Dad. Don't put the pen lid back.
Well, and I'm just thinking, how could I give him that? God.
Here, Dad, I got a dollar bill. Oh, it's rolled up here. Sorry.
But it was just, and I just felt so bad too, because immediately he thought that if this guy wasn't sleeping with one of us, it meant that he was gay because that's what men do. And it was just, there was just so many things in that it was just that time when when you just didn't understand.
Yeah.
You know, there's that time when you realize your parents just don't understand your life, but yet he would still write
Support
the
you.
check.
Yeah. What do you and Larry argue most about?
We don't argue about much, really. Would you say? I don't think we argue. We don't fight.
Yeah, I couldn't see you guys really fighting.
No.
Not big. What makes you angry, Lynn? What are some of your pet peeves? You got a couple pet peeves?
There's
Oh.
one.
Oh, there's
There's
one.
one.
That one's about Larry. She might not say that one.
And-
I sometimes forget to tell her stuff that I'm doing, and I think in my mind I have, but I
Thank you. Because then you always
Save
say,
another
I
10
told
years.
you. You always
Boy.
say, I told you.
I hit a spot there, didn't I?
And then I'm thinking, well, what's wrong with me that I can't remember? But he didn't tell me in the first place.
Well, I think I did, but maybe I don't always.
That's right.
Anyway,
Maybe you didn't.
That
Anyway.
happens. Do you guys have any pet peeves? And not about each other. I just mean in general, like the planet that we live on.
I'm sure there must be some.
People dragging their feet. Lynn, I'm actually quite impressed. Like you were like early today. I thought like, and I've never experienced you ever being late.
But
So
everybody talks
I know.
about me being late. The first few years that I was in the business is when it was just driving Corey mad. Like he would lock the door if somebody was late. And like he was so fanatical about
well,
that.
his rule was if you weren't 10 minutes early, you're late.
But he would lock the door and he wouldn't let people in. I mean, and I just remember all of the years of teaching, if kids came into band practice late, my words to them would be,
welcome.
thank you for coming. Because it's embarrassing enough to walk in late.
Yeah.
That's the punishment but it's just because of those years that like Kevin and Corey just have this in their mind that I am late for
I've
absolutely
never personally
everything.
experienced it. So when you said you're like 10 minutes away, I was like, it just kind of slipped out. I was like, oh my God, she's early. But then I thought, well,
Well, Lynn's
I've
late all
never
the time.
even,
Lynn's late all the
but
time.
I've never ever experienced that.
See,
So
I'm the opposite. I like to be early to events. Like if her band practice starts at 7, I like to be there at 10 too. What?
I feel like this might not be true.
It is true.
I'm feeling like it might not be quite correct.
It is true.
You like to be early. You're right.
Does it happen all the time?
Yes. 98% of the time. And then you
It
go,
was 10
well, why
to
are we
6.
here?
It was 10 to 6, but just to be in his defense tonight, it was 10 to 6, and we were going to be here at 6:30, and you asked us to come earlier, but anyway.
I never
But
got
it's
that
10
message.
to 6,
first of all.
and I didn't tell him, but that maybe is the problem. But it's 10 to 6, and he says he's going to have a shower, and so it's 10 after 6.
But then Catherine and Britton arrived,
Our
and I
daughter
didn't know they were
grandmother
coming.
came.
I
We're going
didn't
down
know.
another rabbit
I didn't
hole.
know they were coming.
So he had 10 after 6. I thought you were going to have a shower. And he did have a shower, and we were here on
Thank you. I'm
time.
so
And we were
glad
here
you-
on time.
I'm actually glad that he had a shower, right?
We actually
And two
arrived
minutes
at
call for
6:30, right on the dot.
That's
I
right.
appreciated it. You guys were half an hour early. I love it. What's one thing that maybe people don't know about you guys?
There's lots of people don't know about us.
Are you collectors?
Lots of people don't know that Lynn is my third wife, probably. But my last
Your
wife,
last
as,
wife,
as
okay.
Lynn says all the time. Yeah. And most people can't believe that that's happened,
True. Yeah.
but it did.
So I want
It
you-
did.
I want to go down this rabbit hole a little bit. So let's go to your first wife. What, if you were to describe her and if she was an animal, what animal would she be? Your first wife. What animal? would
A
you
rabbit.
Okay. Second wife. What animal would your second wife be?
A badger.
Your third wife. What animal is your third wife?
A deer. Do I pass?
Oh, I love it. All
I know
right.
what animal my first husband would have been.
Yeah.
He would have been a sloth.
Sloth.
He was
What
a dud.
what animals, Larry? Tonight. What animal's Larry gonna be tonight?
Uncle my ears.
It's gonna be a lion.
Yeah, no.
What kind of animals, Larry? I'm really thinking about this.
I don't know.
Jesus.
I don't know.
She's not gonna tell you.
No.
Uh-oh. Let's
I
get the
never think
headphones
about-
on.
never
Let's
think about
mix it
that.
up a
You
little
can't
bit.
pass the card.
No, I
Can't
don't.
pass the
You
card.
have to answer that question.
Here we go.
Oh,
Some Beatles.
Oh.
Hey Jude.
So
Great, amazing song.
this song was one of the ones that we listened to during papers, right? So whenever we're with Sarah in the car, she asked us to put the Beatles channel on, and hopefully Hey Jude's gonna come on,
Yeah.
right? Because it's just a great song, right? And when you understand the story behind the song, don't ask me what it is, but there's a lot of Beatles channels now, and they have people who come on and they tell you why they wrote all their songs.
Yeah.
It's quite a story as to why Hey Jude is the song it is. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful story. But Sarah and I, because of the paper route, I guess, really just love that song.
Yeah.
It's
for
cool.
me, it's just deeper.
It's deeper.
My boyfriend in grade 12 was killed in a car accident, and that song got us all through the time. He had an MGB and he took the corner too fast. And it was before seatbelts or roll bars, and he was just thrown out into the field. And his parents wouldn't let us go see him because they didn't want us to see it, but it was like 2 or 3 weeks he was in a coma, and all of us just hung together. And I don't know if you knew that about Adrian.
I didn't know that. No.
Well, that's a very
But his
dramatic thing.
picture is in that Bible in the China.
I know. I've seen the picture. I knew the story, but I didn't know about Hey
Yeah,
Jude
that's
before.
Hey Jude. That was.
Yeah, wow.
Mhm.
So when you hear that song, it just kind of brings back that memory. It's
Mhm.
so crazy how we
Yeah.
Or music is so powerful.
music
Yeah,
with
music
like,
does that.
you
Yeah.
know, with whether it's happy, sad, traumatic, and right away it can just bring you back to that,
Oh yeah.
that event.
So when are some more songs that we get shots if we do it right?
Yeah. So far you guys are on 15. Let's pick up the volume and see what's next here.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was a heavy one for me.
That's all right. I think heavy's good. So John Legend, All of Me, right? Very, very popular song. Lots of people love this song. I am curious because it is newer, and I am curious why you guys love that song so much.
This was another Lynn pick.
John Legend is just such a powerful person and musician. And he would write a song that is just so true for so many people, that it almost becomes like a cliche because it's such a good song. But it still is that good of a song. And it's emotional. And I just think he's like that. I don't want to learn any more about him to know if he's not.
Yeah.
You know, it's it's just that kind of.
When I first saw that song on the list, I thought she meant
All of me.
the jazz version of All of Me, that Steve Martin.
You guys even know that one?
Yeah.
Oh,
Have you seen the movie All of Me?
Steve
Yeah.
Oh,
Martin.
you need
Oh,
to see that
Steve
movie.
Martin and Lily
You'll
Tomlin.
laugh your head
You'll
off.
have to dig it out of the
Really?
archives because Lily Tomlin's personality goes half into Steve Martin, and so Steve Martin is half Lily Tomlin and half himself, and it's Steve Martin at his best, but it's
It's a very funny
but
movie.
it's not.
But that
John
song
Legend's All of Me.
is
Yeah. So I want to kind of go back in time a little bit.
Mhm.
Larry, what were you like kind of growing up? What was your family environment?
I was, how would you describe me? A nerd, yeah. I listened to not rock music. I listened to Percy Faith and his orchestra, and to um, yeah,
You guys don't even know who Percy
That's
Faith
a-
is. I hardly knew who Percy Faith was. Percy Faith was old when I was a teenager.
very.
And we liked it.
It wasn't rock music, but it was good music. But it was all older kind of music, right?
It was old when
And
we
so
were
I never really bought a rock record till I was in university.
Oh wow, what was your first rock record you bought? Do you remember?
Probably Blood, Sweat, one of the Blood, Sweat and Tears or Chicago albums, probably. So I had a very, I'll call it straight childhood. I was in a community band in Regina, and we were busy 3 nights a week.
Yeah.
Right. So
straight
that was my whole life, I guess, was playing and marching. And
You were straight until you met me.
I was straight until I met Lynn. Yeah, you could say that.
Kind of put me on the diversion.
And I was actually on the way to the RCMP band at the end of grade 12, and then there's a long story that didn't work out, and so I went to university and became a music teacher, and the rest is kind of, you could say, is history. But that's, without that, I mean, when I think back, my life would have been totally different if I'd have got into the RCMP band, and it just wouldn't have been.
It worked out better.
It worked out better this way, much better.
Yeah.
I had a much better career as a music teacher and meeting Lynn, and than I would have in the RCMP band. Although I met a guy who was in the RCMP band when I auditioned, and he was a saxophone player too. And he said, "Man, we could have had so much fun together." He's an awesome player.
Yeah.
And he said, "But the reason you didn't get in is because the guy who came in your stead spoke French."
This was in
No,
1960.
He said he wasn't a very good sax player, but he could speak French. And
Yeah,
back
some
then in
skills.
1969, that was a big deal, right? If you could speak French and play,
Yeah.
you were automatically in the band.
Wow.
I could play, but I couldn't speak French. And when I went for my interview, they said, "Well, you're no longer in the band." And I said, "What are you talking about?"
Here's the letter.
"Here's the letter." So I went home, and here's my mom. So I go home, and I must have looked like shit. I walked in the door, and my mom said, "Well, what happened?" "Well, they told me I wasn't in the band anymore." "Well, they can't." Typical mom. "They can't do that. I'm going to phone the superintendent of the RCMP, and we'll get this fixed for you." And I said, "No, if they don't want me, I get the message."
Yeah.
So some friends of mine were already down in Dickinson, North Dakota, going to school there, and they ranted and raved about what a great place it was. So that's where I went. I followed them down there and became a music teacher.
Amazing. And Lynn, were you like a super rebel, out of control? Yeah.
I'm nodding yes, but I don't know.
Let's hear a little bit.
Just on
When you
the
hit
edge.
grade 8.
Just on the edge.
So you're-
But throughout my whole
I'm not
life,
getting
though-
a lot here.
No,
I feel like
but throughout my whole life, I mean, I was the youngest of the family, and I mean, everybody thought that I was just spoiled. And when I look back and I think what kind of a kid I was, and I think I was more like Sarah than Catherine, to tell you the truth. But
Yes.
But I mean, I didn't want to get married and have babies, and so I went to university because Dad would pay, and I was good at music, and so I ended up going into music, to become a music teacher. I didn't get a degree in music, but I ended up being a music teacher. And until I left, and this sounds so maudlin or melodramatic or whatever, but until I met Larry, I lived my life that if this was good, more is better. You spend money, you drink, you party. And as much as you'd ever want to raise your daughters to think that there's a knight in shining armor that's going to save your life, and he wasn't really a knight in shining armor, but he saved my life.
Yeah.
Because that was yeah, it was.
Well,
that's
I
just
don't
how-
know. I could say I don't know who saved whose life, because my second marriage was,
You
She was a badger,
she was,
right?
she totally tried to change who I was. And it took meeting Lynn to find out that,
That wasn't who you were.
yeah, I was becoming somebody that I didn't want to.
Should have got the badger and
Become-
the sloth together.
Yeah, that would have been.
But you know, it's interesting because I know exactly why I married the sloth or the dud. I was 29 years old, and we had an aunt in Winnipeg that never married, and we always would tease people that they were going to get to become like Aunt Muriel. And there was a lady in town whose daughters got married right out of high school, and by the time they were 20, they had 2 or 3 kids. And every time she would see me, I'd go home, and
Are you married yet?
I just remember one time we were in the co-op store, and this lady came, oh, Lynn, and she grabbed my left hand, and she said to me, well, what's wrong with you? You're not married yet. You know, and you think, you laugh and you think, what a stupid woman and all of the rest. But I know my first marriage was because I didn't want to be 30 and not married yet.
Yeah.
And
But you married
by
a
about
dud.
a year and a half, 2 years later, when I went home, and my parents knew me well enough to not object, because, you know, parents object, kids will just try harder to make it work. And I remember when I went home 2.5 years later, and I said that I'd left him, their response was, what took you so long?
Good. So they were super supportive.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
But yeah. and then I just modeled myself, and I, you know, looked for role models and whatever that, you know, women who, career women that
And then you married a dragon.
are really married the dragon, man.
Okay, now we know what animal you are. Yes. I knew we'd get it out of her.
A dragon,
Okay.
a dragon.
last
Oh,
song.
God.
Last song of the evening. Put your little, yes, you guys are doing so good. I love this song, I Can See Clearly Now by Johnny Nash. It's an amazing song, right? Love it. I think everybody loves that song. And I think it's such one of those songs that everybody just sings together. The song comes out and everybody just starts to sing.
And it's a song too that there's so many times in our lives that, you know, finally, whether we're in a fog or whatever, but it's just that whole thing, like I can see clearly, you know, and it just, it's just that experience, and then it's in music. But I mean, I think we all have those experiences so many times in our life that.
Yeah, we just got to go through some heartache, and then boom, I can see clearly.
So I don't know if you guys know this or not, but this song has actually been hypothesized to be about suicide.
I didn't know that.
And it's not.
I think I had heard that.
It is not. It's a song about hope and courage
Yeah.
for individuals who experience adversity and stuff they go work on.
And it's crazy because if you actually hear that little fun fact and then you think about the song, it totally makes sense. Right? It's awesome. So I just want to thank you guys so much for joining us.
It's been fun.
This has been fun. Thank you.
I so appreciate you guys so much. Tons of fun. I want to be able to do it again. Right? And then I just want you guys to read this in your best monster voice. Okay? It has to be done in a monster voice.
Read it together.
Yes.
In unison?
Well, like one will read one sentence.
Oh, okay.
Like I have to be really specific with you guys. Fucking music teachers. Jesus. Okay, monster voice. Look at the camera. Go.
Subscribe
Like my page
and follow me.
on Music Junkie Rocks.
Yeah.
Hey!
Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, you're welcome. That was so fun.
It was fun.